Welcome to another episode of Geek Shop. I'm Chetan, and with me is Chris. Chris, say hi.
Hey, everybody.
And we have a special guest with us today. Please introduce yourself.
Introduce myself. Well, my name is Paul Marhue, and I've been working on comics for a long time. I am very special, and I hope that, viewers will find some value in what I have to say. And I'm happy to be here.
So when do we talk about the word special?
Well, I guess Chetan brought it up. So special is whatever he thinks it is. But I've just been working in the space for ever since early 90s, and learned a lot, and hope that I can share something that people can get something from.
So I have a question, because you were there during the origin of TikTok Tom, right?
Yeah, I remember.
And so, what was your?
What was my sorry?
What was your sort of view of it? Like, how did was it like a young go-getter, a young Mr. Patel coming knocking on your door saying, "Please, sir, I'd like to contribute to your big magazine," or how do you remember that?
I remember it as people in art college just messing about, honestly. There was no grand purpose or goal. It was just connecting with people who like to do the same sort of things that you did, and just having fun, and being creative, and being stupid, honestly, and just having fun with it. Now it turned into something a lot more, it was just. I do remember the day I met Chetan. He was we were standing on the steps of one of the OCA buildings, and I said, "Hey, I see you in the comic shop all the time," and then he was like, "Yeah, I'm into comics and stuff like that." And maybe you'd like to do something. And then he was like, "Yeah, let's do something." And then he started all this. This mess is all his fault.
So, what got you into comic books? What sort of got you into the whole, what inspired you? Because I know that you were doing early stuff, like photocopy stuff, like zine type stuff early on. What was your inspiration?
I grew up in Trinidad and Tobago, and I remember being 9 or 10 years old, and at home, and wanting to draw. Basically, it was just wanting to draw, and I was buying comics and stuff like that, and I sat down and I did this. It was crazy. It was one page, let's say 8.5 by 11, and I managed to cram 26 panels into it. And it was just this. It was just this stupid story about a guy with a helmet flying around punching stuff. So that's, I guess, the origin of me being interested in working on comics.
Now, do you still have that page?
Oh God, no.
Oh, that would have been great to see if you had it.
It would have been great. No, well, great to see. No, probably not, because it was terrible. But that was kind of the origin of me getting into it. As far as getting into TikTok Tom, it was really about the friendships and the connections with other artists and stuff. And then it kind of growing into something more meaningful, that stories we wanted to tell, and we were all growing as artists when we were in school, and as we kind of I don't want to use the word got better, because it's not really about better. It's about just exploring, And as we started exploring and we started expanding what we could do, and our ideas and stuff like that, it just became, it moved from goofing around with your friends to trying to make something that had some value. You know,
And
not necessarily value to
one thing I will
other
have to
people,
say
just
is
value to us.
during that time, you were one of the first few people, or one of the first ones I knew that had a computer with graphics programs on it. You know, and I mean, some of the early stuff you look at, you know, going back to 1992, 93, you know, for TikTok Tom, we did some computer stuff that, you know, at that time, you know, I remember you and I, we used to, you know, talk about, you know, doing this, that, and you were way ahead of most people.
Well, it was, yeah, it was. I was very interested in computers. I was very interested in digital art. I elected to take a course at the OCA where it was a computer. It wasn't a programming course, but just computer graphics. I mean, all of this was so new that, you know, the definitions of what a program was blurry. So anyway,
I just remember that one
so-
course we took on Photoshop. You and I were in the same class where the teacher came up to both of us and said, "How did you do this?" I just remember that
Well-
one, you know, and even the teacher was learning at that time.
well, that's just it. It was so new, and the teacher wasn't really learning. The teacher was just, you know, in wonder of what, you know, was possible. And so as it applied to TikTok Tom, like I was playing, I was experimenting, I was exploring.
But it worked.
know what I mean?
It was
So-
great. I mean, I mean, every time
Not all of it was great.
looking back at it now, yes, you might say, you know, this and that, but at that time, everything you showed me and talked to me about, it just said, you know, opened up my mind and said, wow, this is great.
Yeah, and here we are today with, you know, like on the cusp of entirely new approach to making comics. I mean, yeah, I mean, I still like have some of the files, believe it or not, that we made back then. I'm not sure I could open them because some of the programs may not actually exist anymore, but
And do you still have them on floppies or zip disk or?
no, the floppies and zip. No, I've tried to keep up with the times and have them on backups and stuff.
And
so
this is for all the viewers.
I can
Some of the covers that we had for TikTok Tom that Paul did, we'd go to the print shop with 20 floppy disks, and they have to
Yeah.
connect each one of them in to
Yeah.
do one image.
Yeah, they work for their money. Let's put it that way.
But they were fun times. I mean, they were fun times. But I mean, you know, I'll be honest with you. I learned a lot from you at those times for computer graphics.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. Now you're probably ahead of me because I haven't done a lot of computer
no,
work.
No,
All right.
no. You're like a Jedi. You're a Jedi master.
I'm a pod one.
So then I have a question for you guys. Like, you guys were working on computers back then. Did you think that it would get to the level that it is today, or did you think that maybe it had a limitation?
I don't think I thought it had a limitation. I saw the potential in it, which is why I spent time with it. Is it where 30 years later. That's basically what it was. 30 years later. Do I think it's where I thought it was going to be? I think it's probably ahead of where I thought it was going to be.
Now, do you,
And-
not even just for computer illustration. Let's say for the subject matter we talk about for comics. Did you think it was going to be, you know, where it is now, or did you think in comics, computers are never going to come in.
Well, you couldn't really imagine back then. Okay, you think about how you make a comic back then, right? Like 30 years ago.
Yes.
You wrote a story, you did thumbnails, you did roughs, you did pencils, you did inks, you did color, you probably hand cut word balloons and put it on the page. And now everything you can, all of those steps are just one program.
Oh, so, very true, very true.
So it changed like your process, and usually we worked on our own stuff. Occasionally we would okay, Chetan, you do the thumbnails and I'll do the pencils.
Yes.
And we'll get someone else to write the story or whatever, right? That assembly line is not necessary unless you want it to be. Like if we knew someone who, like our buddy Carl, great writer, if I wanted a really good story and he's better at it writing than I am, I would engage him, right? So that kind of assembly line process is still there, but it doesn't have to be. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
we each can do all of it ourselves. So in that respect, yes, computers have changed how we can do it, but not necessarily how we should do it. So in answer to Chris's question, it's beyond my expectations of what it could do, but I mean, I still respect the process, right? And it doesn't have to be done like that. I mean, we could still do a straight up analog comic. You know what I mean?
We have the option to do both. That's the good part.
Yeah, we can do both. I mean, I don't know if I could go and photocopy a comic now, but I suppose I could. Why wouldn't I be able to?
But I think the ease of modern technology is you could incorporate both analog and digital together if you need to. I mean, some people just go completely digital, but now you can incorporate both.
Yeah, I think that the advantage now is that we have choices, right? And you can create how you want to create, and I mean, like it was a very fun time back trying to figure out how to do things, in the 90s, and trying to figure out like this photocopier, what's the line resolution on it, and how is it going to interpret the screen tones?
Oh, that would be that was the challenge, because I mean, even when you filled out in the background solid black, you don't know how that photocopier is going to break that down. Even the solid black, you'd have clumps. You don't
You don't even know how the photocopier, like how much toner it's got in it. Right?
Yes,
so you could print a bunch of stuff and it comes out gray instead of black.
And that was the challenge back then. Now, the good part and the bad part now is everything's too perfect.
Yeah. I mean, too perfect. That's an interesting phrasing. Yes, most things are very glossy. You know what I mean? Like, you remember you used to look at something and it was like too perfect or glossy, or like, there was a roughness to TikTok Tom that was appealing to me. You know what I mean? It's like someone put their hands on this.
Yes.
And there are mistakes. And there are spelling errors and, all of that stuff. But that gave it character.
And one thing you look at is even like photocopying. You could have the perfect piece of artwork, it photocopied perfectly, but when they went to bind it and staple it, it cuts up the artwork. And you don't expect that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. There was definitely I don't really know how to describe it. There was like a randomness to it that added to the value and appreciation of it. You know what I mean? Because, like I said, it was like people, and maybe that's what you're referring to about everything being too perfect. That we are able to cut out, eliminate all the beautiful imperfections of what.
No,
we
what I
do.
mean, what I mean
And-
now, being too perfect is, I could lay out a book, let's say, write it, draw it, ink it, letter it, screen tone it, whatever, lay it out in a program on a computer, send it to a local printer or whatever digital file, and all the panels are going to be perfect. There's going to be enough of a border, and 1/4 inch border all the way around, easy, hit print it. Where photocopy, when you put it on the glass, it could shift a little. Or when it's coming out for the when it's printing, it could shift a little. You don't know how one book might be different from the other book because of if the paper shifts or something.
Yeah, and that's the upside down airplane on the stamp effect, right? Like,
Yes.
you get a book that's just a little off, and you want it more. But the other thing is like what I don't know if your viewers know, but the original mini comics for TikTok Tom. We were kind of concerned about people ripping off our stuff because, we did just use a photocopier. So anyone could just take what we did and do the same thing. So we started applying, what was that, like foil?
Yeah, it was a foil
called?
thing, something, I can't remember. Letraset made it. I remember that.
Yeah.
They make
It
the
was a colored
Letratone and all
foil.
that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a colored foil that you could like put on the book and it would bind to the toner, and that was our copyright. You know what I mean? But and it's a very fun thing in memory that we did that, but can't do that anymore. What are you?
No.
You gonna put foil on an Amazon print? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have that human touch. I guess, computers afford you so many options. I do remiss that like hands-on kind of touch.
I have a question because we're talking about. You guys were focusing a lot on making comic books and how it affected digitally, but consuming comic books digitally now is a thing too. What's your opinion on that?
I don't consume comics digitally. Honestly, I don't like the experience. I don't like that I can't hold it in my hand. I don't like that I can't feel the paper. I don't like.
That's kind of odd because I thought you'd be the first one because, you are the most computer-oriented person I've known, and I thought you'd be the first one to embrace that, which I'm surprised.
Well, yes, I am very interested. Okay, I'll say this. I'm kind of lazy in general, so actually making comics, if I can speed it up with computers, I will do that. But when I'm consuming comics, I grew up going to convenience stores and seeing the comic book racks and picking them up, and just the tactile feel, seeing the pages, the stupid ads, all of that stuff. It's just a part of my grown up. So when I download a comic or whatever and I look at it on the iPad, it's just not the same. You know what I mean? It doesn't bring back those feelings that I had when I was a kid. And in that respect, maybe I'm behind the times, but I don't
No,
have to do it. So why
we're
do
in the
it?
same boat as you. Chris and I are in the same boat as you are. I think we're still old school. We want the physical comic in our hands.
Yeah, yeah. It's not even a matter of owning it. It's a matter of reliving the enjoyment that brought you into this thing to begin with.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because it's like I dislike reading. I prefer paper comic books to read, but on the other hand, I don't mind the fact that there is now a generation that does consume comic books digitally almost exclusively, and that doesn't really bother me that much. But it's sort of like, because they're doing it differently.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It doesn't bother me that they're doing it. I'm just owning up to I don't want to do it. You know what I mean? If you want to consume it differently, that's totally fine. But I'm gonna hold on, like grim death to the old way of doing stuff.
So that brings up my question on this one. What was the first comic that blew your mind away, saying this is amazing, art story-wise? What kind of opened up your mind about comics?
Well, if I think back, it was Iron Man. I remember reading the Iron Man comics and just being blown away by the artwork. I can't even remember the artist. And
George Tuska, wasn't it?
It might have been.
Or George Tuska.
Romita, the senior. I just it just opened up a world to me that it was so outrageous. This billionaire making suits of armor, and that origin story where I think he was like a prisoner in Vietnam or something, and he met up with some scientist and built something to escape. Anyway, it was probably Iron Man, but as you get into the genre and you start reading more and more and more, then it became like the Avengers and the X-Men and John Byrne and Chris Claremont and their run on it. And then you grow up and you start being a little more demanding in terms of what you want to read. So you get into when DC's Vertigo line came out, and you had all those artists and writers, Neil Gaiman and Chris Bachalo and stuff like that, and they would just create these amazing stories, and then, at least in my experience, I was getting to the point where I was in art school and I was riffing with you guys about doing stuff, and I wanted to do stuff like that. I wanted to do more sophisticated, whatever that means, work and creating and stuff like that. And that's, the trajectory, I guess, is something grabs you, you get in there, you discover something else, you get in there, you get older, and you want something different, but you're still in there in the kind of genre, and you just you want to accomplish more over time, right? So that you're always at a point in your creative life where you're happy and satisfied with what you've done. Right?
So what's the one artist growing up, or even now, that when you see that his or her name, you always look at their work and inspiration?
Okay, I'm reluctant to answer that question because any artist I name, I am not as accomplished and capable.
No, not
doing.
in that way. But it's growing up, when you're at the news rack, a comic book rack, or if you're at the comic book store, you see this artist's work. And I remember we had discussions a long time ago about even like Barry Windsor Smith, where no matter what he did, you bought his work, because it was beautiful.
That is very true. Yes, that is very true. I would say that it's probably a combination. There were writers that I would buy whatever they put out, and there were artists that would buy whatever they put out. So, writers, I don't know if I got his name right. J.M. DeMatteis. I can't remember, and I apologize if I got that wrong. But he did, I believe, Moonshadow.
Oh yeah.
And Moonshadow was done by J. Moth, I believe.
John J. Move.
John J. Muth. And that blew me away.
Oh,
and,
blew everyone away, yes.
To this day, I am astounded by what they accomplished. Not only in the story, but the art, and it was just like I looked forward to it every month. And then there are other artists like Kent Williams.
I was about to bring that up. Both of those guys worked on Blood.
Yes, I remember Blood. And
yeah,
even Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns. It's still probably my favorite book of all time. And
yeah, that's an amazing book.
And what I liked about it is that he had done his Daredevil run, and you knew he could draw, right? Like, by that I mean like you knew he could do figures, and he knew anatomy, and he knew how to put all those things together. But there was like an abandon to the Dark Knight Returns where you can almost like imagine him sitting at his drafting table and saying, I don't care, this doesn't need to be that, I'm just going to draw it the way I want to draw it. And it just combined perfectly with his writing into this like brilliant thing.
And what happened with Dark Knight is what you just described is you have the amazing writing, amazing art, pencils, then you team up with someone like Klaus Janson and Lynn Varley, and that makes that book 100 times better.
Lynn Varley, I believe that was Frank Miller's wife, wasn't it?
I think so. I vaguely remember that, yeah.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So, it was a perfect creative storm. And the only criticism I have about that series is that it took so long to finish. You know what I mean? I remember the last issue being like 6 months late or something like that.
Yeah. So the other question I have is, you guys, and I could ask both of you this, you got into zines and doing your own. What was the comic that made you believe that this was an accessible thing for you to do? Or was there a comic, or did you just make it up? But what made you sort of go, oh wait, I can do this?
Well, I'll let Chetan take the lead on that, but what I'll say from my perspective is that there was an opportunity technology-wise where we did have access to things like photocopies and printers, and we could put stuff together, and we had a desire because we were, like I said earlier, kind of messing about and just having fun. And Chetan is the one that did like the legwork. He's the one that went to the stores and got the books on the racks.
You helped me out a lot on those.
Not that much.
No,
I'm
my
a lazy
thing is,
man. I told you.
Yeah, you are lazy. So I will admit that. but no, what Paul said is perfect. It's not one comic or a comic writer or artist that said, hey, let's do this. I think it was for me, high school wise, comic was a taboo. No one wanted to talk about comics. They didn't see, art, taking art classes in high school, comics wasn't considered art. Even at art college, it wasn't considered art. And then when I met Paul and a few other people, especially Paul, where, it's like, let's do our own thing, and that's what gave the spark. It's not one certain comic or comic artist. I think it's meeting people like Paul that made it.
I'm glad you brought that up, because one of my fondest memories is one day you had this idea where we would do a comic, My Hero, and you would just say, do 3 panels. And you went to all the people who were interested in comics and you said, do 3 panels. I don't have a story. Just look at what was done before and then continue a story. It doesn't matter.
I think that was done when we were sitting around and I drew up the first 3 panels. Then I think you did the next set of panels and it just went on. Yeah, and it worked because, at that time, even at the art college, I think you were one of the first, Joseph Nanny was one of the other guys at the art college that first met that was into comics. And then you were the second one I met, and it's like, slowly you start meeting more and more people. And I think that's just talking to you guys, that's what made made me want to create my own.
I remember during our lunch breaks, we'd be sitting around with different people, and there were a lot of people. I remember Steve Platt being there, and you came up and you just started harassing people to do 3 panels while we were sitting down on the benches eating lunch. So a lot of them were just kind of like really quick scribbles,
yeah.
And just silly, and there wasn't a lot of thought put into it, but the final result is just whimsical and joyful, and it's why, to Chris's question, it wasn't one thing. It was the gathering of people like-minded
exactly
who wanted to make something. Yeah.
No, one thing I will say is with I think, again, when you have a bunch of 20-year-old, young 20-year-olds together and stuff like that, you get a lot of ideas flowing around, and you're willing to listen. You're really willing to learn. I mean, now we're old grumpy men where, we want to do it our own way, and I think that was the perfect timing for us, because we were like, with your computer stuff, I mean, it's like, you showed it, wow, this is amazing, let's do more. It wasn't like, hey, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, we are old grumpy men. There's no doubt about that. But I think everybody eventually gets to, I'll take away the grumpy reference. Everyone gets to a point where they know how they want to work, and they know what works for them.
Yes.
Right? And you get a little set in your ways, for sure. There's opportunity for growth, there's opportunity for change, but back then, when you don't really know what you're doing, and you're open to trying stuff, and you're open to talking to people and seeing, what they're doing and stuff like that, you get these unexpected things, right? Like I remember when you came up to me and said, I want to do a TikTok Tom swimsuit issue. And I was like, where did that come from? What are you talking about? But, then you went to a bunch of people and they said, all right, sure. And we did a swimsuit issue.
And I remember when that happened, I remember, mentioning something to a photography friend of ours, Jeff Turner.
Yeah.
And he goes, hey, I have a cover for you. And it's like...
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah, it was... I don't even know how to describe it without possibly being offensive to someone, but it was a guy, and he was dressed in
a maid's uniform.
Bondage wear.
Yeah, maid's uniform type of a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was standing with his hands behind his head in front of a building somewhere, and I was like, oh my god, Chetan, where did this come from?
I feel like, oh my gosh, where did this come from is a common theme that happened when you guys were making TikTok, Tom.
We had fun.
Yeah.
We had fun, and the thing was, Paul would come up with, I mean, your biographies you wrote in those things. People would come up to me and say, "Hey, does this have biographies in it?" That's all they cared about. We did all kinds of weird things, and people liked it.
Yeah. The biographies, I'm glad you brought it up. I won't spend a lot of time on it, but they were kind of like ramblings, like stream of conscious kind of writings, and you would sometimes you would offer me illustrations that I would base it on, and sometimes I would write some and you would make the illustrations for it. But it was still a comic. I mean, it was more literary, I guess you could say, but there were still images associated with it and stuff like that. As a matter of fact, I think there were a couple of instances where someone would be involved in the TikTok Top comic and they would write just a story. They wouldn't, do panels or anything like that. It was just a story. And then you would say, can you just do a couple of illustrations to accompany this story? So, yeah, Chris, oh my God, what are we doing? We did everything. We tried everything. And I think that's why those zines were successful. I think that's why people were interested in them, because they were different.
And I think we threw on, maybe it's the wrong thing to say is we didn't say no to anything really. We were open to ideas and stuff, and we had so many, we were talking and throwing ideas at each other and saying, you know what, let's do this. Let's, like you said about the swimsuit issue. I mean, it was just like, I remember going to the comic shop and seeing Marvel's swimsuit issue. And I can't remember who was with me at that time. Maybe it was you or who, and just said, "Hey, let's do a swimsuit issue." But I knew I was like, I'm not drawing half naked women. I knew it wasn't going to be that type of a swimsuit issue.
Right, but when your intention is not to make a profit or sell a bunch of books or whatever, then you're free to just do whatever you want. Because
and that's what made
it.
What made it great. I mean, at that time, honestly, all of us did we even talk about making money on the books? Never. We never talked about it. We just created work, put it, and most of the time we sold the book for costed us let's say $1 to print. We're selling for $1.25. I mean, it's the time and effort it took, we're barely making any. We're not even making money on it. So I mean,
I don't. Are zines even like a thing anymore? Like, do people still do zines or?
I do see them in the stores and stuff. And mind you, now now there's hardly any comic shops around in my area, but I do see them still being made. Now again, they're more polished. Like I said, it's not it's. Even photocopiers. Chris and I had this talk in previous episodes. Even when you go to a photocopier is now like, a professional printing press from the 90s.
Yeah.
It does way better quality printing.
Yeah, I think nowadays people do zines, but they do them, it's like a mail order system. I know Jim Rugg does a bunch of it, and also it shows. So it's a lot of people that are making full comics, but
Jim
then they'll
Rugg
make
is a
zines
good example.
as well. So it's a combination. So they do exist, but I don't think they exist the same way they used to.
Yeah. Well, I kind of hope they do the way that it used to be.
I think there's still a culture for that. Only thing is, comic stores. There's not much comic stores around, and the comic stores that are around, they're hesitant in taking that type of stuff now. Most of them are, but again, mail order or even posting your zines online. I mean, digital versions, and Jim Rugg again is an example where you could order directly from him and get his zines, which is amazing.
Yeah, no, that is good. This kind of circles back to what I was saying earlier about the kind of tactile experience of like a comic versus a digital consumption of a comic. You know, like there was just something about a zine. You know what I mean? Like walking into a store. And, you know, there's a rack of stuff by people you had no idea. You know, but also people who ended up making it.
Oh yeah.
So, you know, there was just this introduction to an alternate way of reading a comic.
I think
Buying a comic.
I think buying a comic is the important part. There's that discovery, like where you go in and discover something, which nowadays, and people talk about that about all media, where like YouTube now is focused to you, and you can't really discover anything on YouTube. It's what you've been told about or whatever. You don't run into things. You don't flip the channels and discover a TV show anymore. It's what Netflix has given you, and you sort of have it curated and you pick it. And I think comic books have gone a bit the same direction. You can't discover anything anymore. It's you either
No,
you're given
that's
to.
true, because now the algorithm is like catering to what your likes are. It's not, you know, going into, like Paul said, going into, let's say, not Paul. Last time we had Jeff on, and Jeff said, you know, going to Dragon Lady, and it had the, you know, zines on top of the radiator, you know, and you're flipping through all of them, and you're finding random ones, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get a little bit of that
And-
in
Yeah,
comic
it was-
in at comic conventions and like small ones, particularly like at libraries and things where it's smaller creators. You sort of get a bit of that zine vibe, but you don't get it at the stores anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. It's unfortunate. But, you know, hey, people move on, I suppose, right? What are you going to do?
Exactly.
Okay, so now question we've been asking a lot of creators is, what's your tools of trade when you're doing your illustrations in comics?
It's kind of a mixture of how I used to do it and technology. Like, so I still do thumbnails on pads, and usually what I do is I scan them in, and then I use them as bases for pencils, and then from there it's all digital from there. Then I use a program like Clip Studio to actually like finalize everything, and so yeah, it's a mixture. But I think the important part is that the start is hands-on. That, you know, tactile thing I was talking about with reading books. I still want to be tactile in my initial layouts and stuff, right? Because then I just get a better sense of how I want things to flow, and I can scratch stuff out and make a panel bigger and all that stuff.
So what are you
but-
using tablet wise or digital wise? What tablets are you using?
I don't use a tablet. I use a pen display, and I draw directly onto it when I get there. But it's I mean, I haven't used it in a while because I haven't been able to do stuff in a while. But when you get to the point where you've done the thumbnails and you scan it in and you've set up the artwork and you're ready to sit down and do it, there's a very nice feeling about, you know, kind of like putting down this display and just leaning over it and, you know, kind of like working at it. And thank God for the undo. I'll say this. It's the one thing that when we didn't have these tablets and programs and stuff like that, I mean, you know, yeah, I would have liked to have an undo back then, but at the same time, maybe not having it is, you know, kind of forced me to, you know, work with what I got, right? So, I don't know. My process is probably much like yours. You know, it starts off analog, ends up digital, and I'm appreciative of the time that it saves, the digital part of it, and it helps me do things faster and be more productive, you know?
So what kind of art are you producing nowadays?
I'm, I'm, I'm. I don't know if I want to bring this up, but I'm, I'm experimenting with trying to incorporate AI into my process. I don't know where that incorporation is as yet, but I, I think that it's here. It's not going away. It's what I'm struggling with right now is the line between this is mine and this is a machine.
Well, what's a future
So-
project are you working on now?
Well, it's a future project in the sense that I haven't finished it, but I started it like 2 years ago. I had an idea and I wrote out a 5 issue comic, and it was started during COVID, so it has a lot of that influence in it. But I haven't been able to work on it for a little while, but I want to get going on it. I want to speed up the process, which is why I'm kind of looking into AI to help me speed up the process.
And just to let you know, I read the first issue, and it's artwork's great and story's great also.
Thank you. The story's going to have to change. I'm going to have to rewrite some of it because we just don't live in that world anymore.
No.
And people's attitudes have changed about, that time, that COVID time. But, I mean, yeah, that's what I want to work on. And I'm happy to do jump back into the TikTok Tom world. Because I haven't done anything in a long time.
No, we've already talked about it, so not to give anything away, I have asked Paul to do something for me. So he did say yes, so
Yeah.
let's see what happens. If not,
Exclusive. We have an exclusive here.
yes, and if not, I will put Paul's contact information, and please contact him if he does not produce any work.
Well, when you get going on this project more, we'd like to have you back on for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Love to.
We want to talk to people that are in the process.
Now, this is going to be a question which they could talk to me, but where can they find your work besides TikTok Tom? Mostly it's TikTok Tom stuff, so it's all the links will be down here.
The work is on TikTok Tom. I mean, the websites that I have are more like, professional stuff, so it doesn't really relate to comics. But yeah, TikTok Tom, I know you can filter by artist. You can see all my work and stuff like that. And I know you've been working hard putting together books with other team members and stuff like that. I have some in there, but
But your
I'm not
work,
doing it.
for viewers who are watching, check out Paul's Instagram page. On that, he has a lot of his Inktober drawings that you did from the last previous years, which are beyond amazing.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I can't actually remember. Marhue creates.
We'll put the link down here.
Marhue creates.
Yeah, we'll put the links at the
we'll put
bottom.
the link down there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, those Inktober things are grueling, but when you're done, you look at the stuff you did and said, "Huh, that wasn't bad."
Nice.
No, they were
wasn't bad
great.
for a
No,
day,
your experimentation with some toning and black, the line work, black and white line work, it's great.
No, I appreciate
Go check out his
that.
Instagram. I think we should probably wrap up because I think we've been taking way too much of Paul's time. But I want to have him back on for sure when he's got his book, when he's really got it, when he's got a new issue out. Maybe he can let us review it and talk about it a bit on a future episode.
Oh boy.
Yes.
Oh boy. All right.
So
I'm gonna make it a 4-issue thing. I'm gonna rewrite it a little bit, but the first one is done. Chetan has seen it, Half of the second one is done. So maybe next time I'll have 2 issues done. And it's not something I'm trying to make money off of. So, I'll send it to you guys and maybe open it up to people and, see what they
Okay, so
think.
our next episode, Paul Marhue returns. We'll do a Dark Knight cover. Okay?
Oh.
So that's...
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you,
I'm
thank you
trying
for
to-
joining us.
I'm trying to think about my belly. You know what I mean? And, with the lightning and all that. Oh, boy. All right. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.